Welcome back to the Insane Nightmare Survival Guide. Today we're going to be talking about melee combat. I'll be going over each of the major weapon types, as well as some general tips for taking melee fights in 7 Days to Die Alpha 20. So let's get started with the first and probably worst melee weapon, spears. Spears are a unique weapon in 7 Days to Die in that they don't have a power attack, instead they have a throw attack. Because of this, spears are generally viewed unfavourably, and because of the thrown nature of the power attack, it makes it very risky to try and use it. With zombies moving at these kinds of speeds, you really may have to sacrifice headshot damage for actually just hitting your target, as going for such a small target on such a fast moving target may just end up with your spear halfway across the world, leaving you without a primary weapon. So heavy throws are risky and stamina inefficient, which isn't a great start. The light attack also really lacks the knockdown necessary to make this a competitive Insane Nightmare choice. To make it even worse, the spear perk, Javelin Master, offers no additional effects other than raw damage and throw range, which compared to every other weapon damage perk in the game is seriously underpowered. Spears do have two things going for them though, armor penetration and extra range. The armor penetration is honestly pretty useless because there aren't really that many armored zombies in the game anyway, and by the time where you may want to start actually thinking about armor penetration, you'd be better off using armor piercing ammo on a gun. The range does have a use though. If you want to use spears on Insane Nightmare because you're a psychopath, you can go around building 3 high pillars, and using the range of the spear will allow you to hit zombies where other melee weapons wouldn't reach. You can also use hatches or blocks in doorways or similar situations to stop the zombies from advancing on you. Spears have a really bad time to kill though, so you have to eliminate the zombie's speed by just spamming defenses around. But honestly, if you just use any other weapon we'll be going over today, you'll have a much smoother time. Let's move on to the next melee weapon, the Sledgehammer. The Sledgehammer is a two-handed melee weapon which takes a lot of stamina to swing, but it also has the highest base damage out of all the melee weapons. The light attack with the Sledgehammer is also one of the most cost-effective ways to inflict knockback early on in Insane Nightmare. Power attack is really where this weapon shines though. While it does drain a lot of stamina and it is a slow swing, the decapitation chance with the Sledgehammer power attack is very high and has a solid chance of ending encounters quickly. The Sledgehammer excels at crowd control as well when you invest in its skill. You can swing it and take down several zombies in one hit. This makes it an excellent early game Horde Night weapon, and one of the 2 melee weapons that will actually scale relatively well into late game Horde Nights when used correctly. It does have one big weakness though, and that is that the swing speed cannot be increased as they are not affected by the Flurry of Blows perk. So clubs will come to outclass sledgehammers later on in the game once you grab some agility. To add to that, the sledgehammer also has no dedicated skill book, unlike the club. All of this together though does make a strong beginner weapon that can really help you out if you struggle getting the lower damage weapons to work on your early playthroughs. Anyway, let's go into arguably the best melee weapon in the game, the club. The club is a solid mid-tier weapon on almost every stat, and on paper it should be pretty unremarkable, but that solid versatility really does make this a fantastic choice right off the bat. Where the club really shines is its incredible potential for knockdowns. Using the weighted head mod, metal chain mod, and the pummel Pete perk, you can basically stun lock and just beat the hell out of every zombie in the game. The pummel Pete perk actually gives you a boost to damage against knockdown opponents, and a bonus to knock the zombies back down once they get back up, along with giving you a combo bonus which makes a certain numbered hit do double damage. At max rank, every third hit with a club will do double damage, which is actually a substantial boost to your DPS that keeps it more competitive for longer. To make clubs even more powerful, they benefit from the Flurry of Blows perk along with the Sexual Tyrannosaurus perk, which of course boosts every melee weapon. Flurry of Blows at its highest level will allow you to attack 25% faster, which is another great extension to the viability of the club into the late game, and can give you extra stamina on kill, which is compatible with the extra stamina on kill from Sexual Tyrannosaurus, meaning you really can take down a lot of zombies without running out of stamina with clubs. If that wasn't enough, the club has its own dedicated skill book which increases its damage, gives you more knockdown chance, and when you complete the series you get the most broken effect in this game. Every power attack you get with a club will completely restore your stamina bar. In the late game you can basically attack forever with clubs, and you can stun lock enemies, and the attack speed is great and the damage is solid. Clubs are actually kind of overpowered when you start breaking down all the effects. So yeah, clubs are the best, thanks for watching. But really, the club is the melee weapon that will help you the most when clearing POIs, as it just doesn't lose fights. It will struggle on Horde Nights though because it lacks the crowd control and damage of the sledgehammer. Fortunately, The club and the sledgehammer are sister weapons under strength, meaning you can quite easily spec for both of them if you really want to and have a completely unstoppable melee build. Anyway, onto another melee weapon choice, knuckles. You can think of brawling weapons as a weird hybrid between clubs and sledgehammers. They're very fast, they're very stamina efficient, they have decent damage, they have really good knockdowns, and they're great for decapitations. The big issue though is their extremely close range. The Brawler perk will increase your chance to knock down just like Pummel Pete and Skull Crusher, and will also give you extra decapitation chance. Also, headshots will negate a zombie's ability to infect you, which is cool. Effectively leaving them in a bit of a weird niche where they're like a weaker single target sledgehammer, but they also have the benefit of the Flurry of Blows perk like clubs, and they also have their own dedicated skill book. The Brawler skill book is actually one of the better skill books in the game. It'll give you increased damage, it'll give you extra knockdown chance with power attacks, you'll get more damage from kill streaks, do more damage to knock down enemies just like the club, you'll restore 1 health per hit on enemies, which is one of the most broken effects in the game. It's essentially free healing, just find a slow zombie, knock him over and leech some health from it. It also increases your damage and movement speed after you get hit, along with removing the blur effect from beer, and gives you a combo where every 7th hit does triple damage. Those are some of the best effects you can find in this game. I did make a build guide a long time ago on how to use the Knuckles build to just never die in this game, but the shortened version is this. Use heavy armor, healing factor, and pain tolerance to maximize your survivability, use farming so you can grow beer, and abuse beer for its insane triple brawling damage boost as well as its massive stamina regen boost. You can also use Iron Gut to increase the efficiency of your beer, and remember to use those book effects, particularly the one that allows you to restore health on hits, and the one that makes you do more damage and move faster after taking hits. With all that, you will have a really hard time dying in this game. It's a really fun and unique way to play, even if it's not as easy to pull off as clubs or sledgehammers. Early on you have to really watch that range. You might want to carry a sledgehammer for really cheap knockdowns and then use your brawling weapons on the down target. Brawling is one of the most underrated combat styles in the game, and it deserves its place among clubs, sledgehammers and machetes as top tier melee weapons. You just have to be smart. Speaking of machetes, knives and machetes are another fantastic weapon choice for Insane Nightmare. Bleed is one of the most powerful and underappreciated effects in 7 Days to Die. One bleed stack will do 20 damage over time. Each light attack with any knife will inflict 1 bleed stack. So realistically, a light attack with a bone knife is kind of punching above its weight if you consider that it effectively does 23 damage total, it just does it over time. A powered attack will deal 2 bleed stacks, so that's even more effective, but you can only do 2 bleed stacks per enemy initially. The real shining star here is the Deep Cuts perk itself. Deep Cuts will allow you to do even more of that insane bleed damage, and at the final rank you'll be able to inflict 7 bleed stacks with each powered attack you do, inflicting 5 bleed stacks per hit. This means that if you power attack an enemy twice with a level 1 bone knife, and you have all 5 ranks of Deep Cuts, you'll do 140 damage of bleed over the course of about 20 seconds. Now if you combine that with an actually good knife like a level 6 fully modded machete, where you can get a solid 100 damage per headshot, you can run in, do 2 headshots, do about 200 damage and just jump away with parkour and let the zombie bleed for another 140-ish damage. That is a lot of free damage stamina wise. But wait, there's even more. Knives and machetes get a plus 400% sneak attack damage, so now you're going in and dealing 150 damage per sneak attack headshot, running away and the bleed will finish them off. But there's even more than that. You can combine this with Hidden Strike and you'll get a solid 250 damage per sneak attack headshot. We're getting to the point where very few zombies are going to be able to survive this. If you then add in Night Stalker rank 1 for even more sneak attack damage at night, rank 3 for more bladed damage at night, rank 7 for extra sleeping target damage, and the completion bonus which will allow you to do plus 200% more sneak attack damage with knives at night, combined with the Covert Cat's Candy, you're going to have a 9 times multiplier and do like 350 damage with 1 hit. And then you can chain a second one for maximum bleed stacks, and then just jump away and let them bleed out. There are very few zombies who are going to be able to survive that. The big issue of course is that you actually have to know how to do stealth, and given how many stealth broken please fix comments I get, a lot of you clearly don't know how to do stealth properly. But it does work, you just have to get good. The big drawback being here of course that knives aren't fantastic for open combat, as they have issues getting knockdowns. And they'll also struggle on Horde Knights because they're very reliant on sneak attacks to deal insane amounts of damage, and sneak attacks are not reliably achievable on Horde Knight. especially with a melee weapon. Knives are a solid early game stamina efficient weapon and are the best late game POI clearing melee weapon if you can do stealth properly. Nothing else to say really, they obviously benefit from flurry of blows, but ironically they're one of the less useful weapons to be able to swing faster because they're already fast and you shouldn't be needing more than a couple of swings if you use them right. Onto another weapons class, the batons. Now some of you may be expecting me to drag batons through the mud here, but honestly they're okay. The pipe baton is a slower wooden club and is workable on Insane Nightmare, though I generally just suggest using a sledgehammer knife club combo until you find a stun baton. Stun batons are weak on their own, but if you can get Tech Junkie books 5 and 6, you'll be able to make the repulsor mod, which makes zombies ragdoll on stuns, and the other will increase the amount of stuns you do, basically giving you a 50% chance for every power attack to charge the baton, which will allow you to stun on the next hit. If you combine stun batons with a good gun or robotic turrets, they are absolutely fine, just don't expect them to stomp in the same way that clubs or machetes do. They're mostly a crowd control weapon and they excel at that one thing. Don't treat them like weaker clubs because they're not. Using Nerd Tats Candy will allow you to hit multiple zombies at once with your stun, which when combined with the repulsor mod will let you absolutely wipe out waves of zombies. Just make sure you have a backup gun, another player, or a set of robotic turrets to clean them up as you keep them stun locked. Perk just increases damage and how long the stun lasts, but honestly the damage will always be basically nothing and the stun length isn't worth the perk points in my opinion. That's all I really have to say about batons. They're okay, better than spears definitely. The last category of weapons I want to talk about is tools. They're not actually weapons. Please stop commenting about how you use axes or wrenches. Tools have terrible damage and you'll get none of the useful effects that make the weapons I listed in today's video so strong. It's not unique, you're just playing ineffectively, which is fine if you want to play on Nomad difficulty. I'm trying to make helpful videos for Insane Nightmare here. You'll get absolutely folded if you try and use a steel axe as your primary weapon on this difficulty, but they might still unironically be better than spears though, because at least axes have a functioning power attack. Buff spears please. Finally, let's go over some general advice for melee weapons. First of all, get Sexual Tyrannosaurus. It drastically reduces the stamina cost of power attacks, which you will want to use, and it gives you a nice boost in the form of stamina per kill. Secondly, later on in the game you're going to want to grab Flurry of Blows unless you're using Sledgehammers or Spears. 25% extra swing speed means 25% more DPS, and the stamina on kill is also really nice. Remember, beer for your brawling builds is insanely powerful, giving you triple brawling damage, but the stamina boost is also really good for other melee builds, and remember to buy skull crushers for that bonus melee damage in harder fights. Use your drinks to regen stamina faster, and use food to increase your maximum stamina. Early on, running out of stamina before you've done enough damage to kill an enemy is a common problem, but that could help you out a lot. It goes without saying that unless you're going for stealth, you should probably use steel armor as soon as you can get it if you're going melee, because you're probably going to take hits unless you're a perfect god tier player, which if you were a perfect god tier player, why would you be watching a guide like this? Also remember, decapitations are an instant kill, so always go for the head as well as just for that base damage increase. Generally speaking, powered attacks are the way to go. They're more efficient for dealing damage and getting knockdowns and decapitations. Remember, building and crafting is a big part of this game, and you can use blocks to stop zombies from hitting you, allowing you to move in and out of range of the zombies. Also, as another melee tip, it's sometimes not worth it to try and always finish a downed opponent. Sometimes it's better to just walk backwards away, regen some stamina and prepare for round 2, because sometimes early on in Insane Nightmare you will knock down an enemy and then go smashing into them, and they'll literally just survive it and you'll have no stamina and no way to run away. So be cautious when stamina is still a valuable asset and play it a little bit more safely. There we go, I think I covered each major melee weapon type and their place in Insane Nightmare. If you have any questions I failed to answer, leave them below, and of course consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'll be continuing this series for a while, so if you want the best Insane Nightmare tips, you know where to find them. In the meantime, why not check out the other videos in this series, such as one of my build guides or the questing guide. Thank you to my channel members for making these videos possible, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.